Let's talk about some of the craziest things I've done in business so that you won't have to deal with them. Okay, before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I've been an entrepreneur for most of my adult life, over 25 plus years of running businesses, scaling business, losing money, making a lot of money, hiring staff, hiring family. I've made a lot of just bad decisions, a lot of things that when I look back, I say, wow, Keshon, that was not good. So I'm going to talk about a lot of these things so that if you're dealing with them now, you know how to get over, or if you can prepare when these type of things arise, these hurdles, these obstacles, and some of these perceived solutions that are really not perceived solutions. So let's get started. One of my businesses that I've done was we were scaling fast. We were growing so fast, and we needed financing. And what we was doing first was we was leveraging money coming in, like, incoming orders to continue to make our product, different things like that. But we end up saying, hey, in order for us to hit this next threshold, because we was already making seven figures, we was doing, I think, 1.7 million consistently year after year. So to go to that next threshold, we had to really come in and try to innovate our processes and procedures, because a lot of the stuff we was doing was very hands-on, more archaic style, functionality. So if you're there, you kind of know what I'm dealing with. You're at that threshold where you're saying, okay, we see so much potential to grow, but our pockets are very, empty right now because we're bringing money in, and then that money is going out quick, whether it's going towards bills, whether it's going towards paying manufacturers, whether it's going towards paying staff, and we're going to talk about that part as well. So the first thing we did was we got a merchant advance. We're on one of these websites, and we're bringing in so much money, and then we get this offer saying, hey, we'll give you $100,000. I say, here we go. And we'll do a daily pull. I say, okay, that's not that much. And then, we'll, out of that 100,000, you pay us back, I think it was like 10,000 on top of the 100,000. Okay, cool. No credit required, because at the time my credit was very struggling. We'll talk about credit. So I said, let's do this. Okay, this makes sense. So we did it. Got the money. It allowed us to get into a bigger facility, allowed us to buy product, allowed us to buy the machinery and different things we need. So the daily pulls wasn't even a problem until we came into our slow season. And a lot of us don't prepare for that slow season, because that slow season, it's a gut check. It will hit you, and it will hit you. Our slow season, our slow season be crazy. It will go from six figures, high, and then low six figures, and all of a sudden it's lower than that, and we're panicking, and we're like, what's going on? What's going on? The site crashed. There's something happened, and eventually we realize we're in this slow season. So then that financing, it started hurting, because those daily pulls, we really needed all the money that was coming in, and that financing. Boy, that was a rough period. So what we ended up doing was we paid off that financing. So it was, business merchant advance is just like you see these cash advances. If you go into any hood or struggling community, you'll see a cash advance on every corner, and then you'll next to a cash advance people holding up signs saying we'll work for food. So it's just like you're right next to the cash advance and you hold up the sign. Anyways, the business is almost the exact same process. When you're struggling and you want that cash advance to help you get through the next, you'll do the same thing. And if you don't have a good system, you're going to run into a place where you're just borrowing money and it's getting you temporarily ahead, but it's not enough for you to keep scaling. So you need to be able to have, liquid in place. If you're borrowing money and you don't even have enough of money in your bank account, you need to really look at conventional lines of credit, conventional loans versus these merchant advance. But a lot of people take them And it does help. It does help. But it gets you into a process just like going into, a cash, getting a loan from one of those places. A merchant advance puts you into a system where you're going to have to keep borrowing. And they know this. They know that once they get you to take this 100,000, you're like, look, man, this 10% interest, 8% interest, whatever it is on top. Your credit is struggling. Just take it. It's going to help you out. You're like, okay, I'll take it. Then when it's paid off, you're like, okay, let me get another one, because now you become dependent on that. If you don't think you won't, trust me, most people become very dependent and they keep borrowing. And that's what happened with us. Was we paid it back, and then we took out another one because we were saying, okay, well, this is all paid back. But during the slow season, that took out so much of our money that now we're coming to our peak. We need money to be able to spend on advertising. We need to increase our inventory even more. So we went and brought more. And it was a domino effect. Every time that merchant event got paid off, what do? We went and took another one out. And they kept enticing and saying, okay, well, you did great with 100. Now, here's 120, here's 150, here's 200,000. So it takes you down that road. And for us, we started making so many bad decisions that we dealt with staff, and we had too many staff because, how I said earlier, our whole process and procedures was so archaic. So we was manually doing so much stuff, and we really didn't need to. COVID changed so much. COVID made you have to work with less people to get more done. And when business started doing this, they started realizing, like, we don't even need this entire department right now, because now we've been able to innovate, and we're seeing that we was just spending so much money. So things like that, like a COVID, drastically change how you do anything. AI. What else do we get to say? AI is just taking jobs, and people are getting mad. Like, AI is taking my job. Look, you wasn't doing work to begin with, so let's just be honest. AI is changing for the best. What's going to happen is a lot of new jobs, a lot of new careers. You'll see. I'll talk about AI all the time. I love the innovation that AI, and it's happening so fast. We have an animation series, and we've been paying out thousands and thousands of dollars to get this animation. New AI technology takes it, and it starts. And I'm like, all this money. But AI is here. This is what the revolution that we're in, and we have to embrace that. So what we ended up doing was we got that funding, and I'm going to be a little bit all over the place, but it's going to help you out. So we got that funding, and it wasn't enough. So then I started getting calls, and I'm saying, it was companies in New York, hey, we would love to just give you, X amount of money for your business to help you. And they'll send you a text message or a call. Would your business need an extra $100,000 to survive with a minimum payment back? You say, okay, let me entertain it. And then they'll ask you stuff like, send us your last 6 months of bank statements. And then they'll look at your bank statements and then say, okay, well, we can prove you for, this amount. Those type where, especially going to be heavy in New York, you'll get those calls from New York, you'll get some in Florida and different things like that, where they're really selling you on this amazing events that is going to help you get all this stuff, and then they'll give you this money on top. Those type of merchant advances, stay away from. I'm gonna tell you why. So we end up doing that. We did it. We got the money. It came in. It was like, okay, great. And at the time, we had so many holes in the business. We got the money, and half of that money immediately went to payroll. And I was just like, oh, wow. Okay, so now we got to make do on that. And then we had a huge expense. We were spending maybe like $60,000 a month just on advertising, and that money was going down. So then we went through a thing where we got the money within a couple weeks. That money was gone because we were so much in a hole. So then we get another call from another company over in New York and say, hey, we got somebody for you. We know you got that last one, but look, here's what we're gonna do. We'll take on theirs and then we'll add, to that. And then it's called stacking. So they'll start stacking. So I said, no, no, no. And then, I'm looking, and at the time I had a lot of my family who worked for me. So it was just even more pressure to get out the slow season. Because I knew it was in the slow season, but I kept saying, we're going to get out this, well, whatever. I said, okay, stupid. When I tell you, do not do this. This was just the worst thing you can do. So we ended up stacking. So I had the one from our website. We had that merchant, and then I had the one we just took out, and then so we stacked 3 on top. Crazy, but understanding our money coming in, what was a lot. So during peak, those daily pulls was, we going like this on the during the daily pulls. During slow season, we're like, please do not take no more money out of our account. So we're getting 3 merchant events pulling from our account. Horrible. So we panicked so much. So we ended up having 3 people pulling from our accounts. We had to completely downsize. I was at a place where I could not keep probably 75% of my staff. I was at a place where I was just broken because I thought I was making a good decision, and I thought I was, me taking out this money was more so making sure that my staff and everything would be good, but it wasn't. So when I thought I was doing the right thing was taking out that money and, trying to help keep my staff, because again, a lot of them was family, and I was, they depended on me. And when you got these businesses, you have family, you have staff, whether they're W-2 contractors, they depend on you, and you have a responsibility, but you also have a responsibility to the business. And one thing with the business is the business has no emotion. There's no emotion in that business. Whatever emotion is in that business is because you allowed it to come in. And that's the tough part. With that means you have to make some tough decisions. I held on. I was at the ship while it was just sinking, and the water was coming here, and I just said, you know what? It's not working. And it was a tough period to lay off that many people. And they depended on me for so much. But the business was falling. We owed so much. I couldn't pay back the merchants. So we had to end up closing, that business. And let me tell you about this. Here's the thing about these merchants that they don't tell you. You default on one of those, they're coming after you. They're not just coming after you, or your business, they're coming after everything. They have this thing when you're signing up for these merchants, especially these ones in New York that I'm talking about. It's called a UCC filing. That means when you get that, they'll send you your documentation. You got to take it to the bank, and then you'll have to make sure it's certified and stamped and all that. So then they take your business and your name, and then it's a UCC file. So if you default, they're not just coming after the business, they're coming after you. We started getting calls saying, hey, there's been a UCC filing, on your name that says you default. I suggest you pull all the money out of your accounts. I'm saying, okay, cool. They say, no. All your accounts, your personal, your business, they're coming after you. I said, man, I looked up, we had 4 accounts. I took their fights. I pulled the money out. We had and it was so crooked. They was pulling out more money than they should. It was just, I looked at this account, I said, oh my God, I was like, let me get that 4 accounts. $60,000 each account. It was like devastating, and I really couldn't tell many people about it because it was just a terrible place to be at. So it took me completely down a place where I was just like, I will never, do this again. And I tell people, do not do that. We've been able to get back over. I had to start new businesses. But just telling you, like, this was years ago when this happened, years ago. And I see people, even now, I'll still get, this is almost eight plus years ago. I'll still get text messages now. Hey, do you want business financing? This and that. Like, no. We do conventional SBA loans, lines of credit. We work on credit. You have to be patient with your business. You have to be patient. You have to look at your seasons. It is so critical. You have to look at your seasons with life, because you're going to go through these ups and downs, heartbreak, devastation, overflow of money coming in, and no money coming in. You have to understand that is just part of the life cycle. So in business, what we do is we just panic, and we just don't look at the entire picture. Look at the entire picture. Don't take out money that's going to consistently put you in a place where it's just going to jeopardize you. Don't hire staff. We've hired staff as well, where we hired someone based off emotion, and then we didn't even have basic handbook. Right now, you can go into ChatGPT, and say, create me an employee handbook. Here's my company. I need one for my W-2 employees, and I need one for my 1099 employees. Understand the difference. So, there's a lot of people who have 1099 employees, and you're trying to treat them like W-2. Yeah, 1099 employees trying to treat them like W-2. Trust me, I've been there as well. But they're not. When they start realizing, like, I'm a 1099, you're gonna deal with that. But understand that. But make sure that you go in there and have an employee handbook. Simple. Understand the terms. Understanding attendance, tardiness, being on your phone, being on social media. Understand that. Make sure they sign off on that. Make sure that the tax document, because at the end of the year, they're going to say, hey, it's time for me to file my taxes. I need my 1099. I need my W-2. If you don't have the accounting system in place for whatever your budget is, make sure you're disciplined and have all your receipts and all those forms. It's going to be so important. We've had staff come back to us 5 years later and say, hey, can you give us a reference? And I'm saying, okay. And they're like, when did you work? It's like, you don't remember? I'm like, we had to look back. Having that documentation is critical. We've had a thing where IRS had to do audits. You got to make sure that basic staff stuff is taken care of. It's going to be critical. Understand, when you're hiring family, whatever the emotions, whatever the expectations that the family has of you before the business, guess what? They're going to bring that into the business. And you have to have foundational stuff done. Foundational stuff, understanding your procedures, understanding what your product is, how you're going to market to your product. You need to have all that stuff done prior to start bringing in these staff and these employees. Why? Because if you don't, they're going to help add to it. And then what they're going to expect, they have more value into your company. And you want that, but when it's time to make certain decisions, they're going to come and say, hey, I helped build all of this as well, so I'm deserving of this and that. So you'll get a lot of entitlement. So foundational stuff needs to be done. You can go and chat GPT and type in and say, hey, I need to have my mission statement. I need to have my terms and conditions. I need to have product descriptions. I need to have how when somebody comes into our physical store, I need to have an intro letter when I'm going to talk to these various businesses. All can be done immediately. You type it in, and then before you can get a yarn out, it's all right in front of you. Never has that been done. So there's no excuse for you not to do that. It takes a little bit of time. Researching is almost a thing of the past, because now you have AI that does it like it's never been done like that. So you have no excuses ever. Like, it's completely changed, right now. There's almost literally no excuse for not to have basic foundational stuff done. Hiring staff, managing staff is critical, because that's another stress. Not only do you got to manage them, you got to bring in money, and you got to bring and grow the business. When eventually you come in and you're hiring the right leaders, critical. Hiring leaders that are leaders, and not somebody that's going to say, hey, you do this. And then you look at me like, man, we have such a huge turnover, because if you're the leader or your leaders you hire, they are horrible. You can't just hire someone to just boss people around. I'll go into like a store, like we'll go into a Kroger's, and we'll go into the grocery store, and then our place depressing. and people, and I'll have a conversation with the staff. How are you doing? Oh man, it's the management. And then I'll see the management, and the managers are there working their tail off, but they are not really leaders. They're just stressed, and they're bringing that stress in, and they don't know how to micromanage. So you have to be very sure that the leaders that you have in your business are leaders. And if that is you, you need to make sure that you're leading. And whatever your emotions, whatever your stress, whatever issues you have to stop them at the door. And you have to almost put on a whole new person to handle these people, because you're handling people and you got to deal with their issues as well. So you're also like a leader, you're a coach, you're a mentor. You know, you're doing a lot with that, but that's part of running a business. You can get mad as much as you want, but that's part of running a business. And then when you bring those new leaders to replace you, they have to follow that same process. If not, you're going to have a huge turnover. You have to find a way to run a business out the operation, but you also have to find a way to motivate and inspire your staff. When we left, I mean, we spoiled our staff when we was there. So when they left, it was really hard for them to go to another job, because the expectations and, you know, how we treated the family, you know, because we had a lot of family working, but everybody came in was like family. So we put, you know, such a closeness with our staff that they really respect that when they leave. And they, you know, even to these days, I used to love working for you. And this, I'm like, yes, you know, I did, but you cost a lot, you know. So we had a lot of these things, but making sure that those foundational pieces of your staff are taken care of is huge. Understand when you can pay someone. Put that in. You know, if you're paying someone bi-weekly, monthly, make sure you can pay them. You know, if you're having to go into a situation where you're hiring staff and they're being paid based off the money coming in, and you don't have enough to, you're at the end of the week, you're like, man, if this money hits, man, I'm good. But if this money don't hit, I don't know. That's not what you need to do. Don't hire staff if you got to do that. If it means right now that you have to carry 3-4 hats right now, then so be it. That's part of the process. It's going to be a lot more stressful when you look up and you're like, well, I can't afford one of these. I can't wear one of these hats, so I got to pay someone who I can't afford to pay right now. Imagine that stress. That is a huge stress. And our payroll was 6 figures. So every month we're looking at, okay, this money is going, and it was so at an archaic type of process and procedure. So you need to make sure that foundational stuff is there. Don't bring your stress into the business. You're the owner. People are going to see the stress that you have. You're having a rough day. You're not even intentionally putting it on people, but your staff, your family, even outside of business, they're going to see it. They're going to feel it. And you have to open yourself up to embrace the emotion, but also know when it's time to not have that emotion flow into other aspects of the business of your life. So as we continue this, I want to make sure that at least these 2 things of the business financing and hiring staff is critical for almost any business. Just make sure you're disciplined. Don't panic. When everything is going wrong, the money is low, you don't have enough to pay staff, you're not sure if your lights are going to be on, do not panic. When you panic, you're going to make emotional decisions. And I always tell people, do not make emotional decisions, because emotional decisions lead to doors that you're gonna see that are like false idols, and you don't want to open those doors, because it's going to really hurt not just your business but your personal finances and just your life. So just make sure you're careful with that. Guard your heart, guard that business, and just be patient in the process. Sometimes it just requires you to be patient and just downsize and then allow everything to work itself back up. So as we continue this, I want to keep encouraging you, and we're going to get through this. So follow and stay tuned. You got this.